Breaking news right now.
President Joe Biden is about to touch down at SeaTac Airport.
Yeah, let's show you these live images. And here is the moment where the President of the United States is now landing at SeaTac in Western Washington for his visit that is expected to last until tomorrow afternoon. This is a moment we've been telling you about throughout the newscast. We have been waiting for his arrival. He's arriving a bit early than what we expected.
He took off from San Francisco at about 3:30, which is about an hour early. The thing is that really makes this a big deal here. It's 4:52 and I-5 northbound from about the SeaTac area into downtown Seattle has been shut down now for nearly a half hour. So traffic outside of the airport already a huge problem for anybody trying to get anywhere this afternoon.
And of course, this is very typical whenever the president visits anywhere. We have seen this before. The last time that President Biden was here in Seattle was in 2022. As you mentioned, he was just in the Bay Area. So a pretty short plane ride for him to come here to the Pacific Northwest. And this comes as most polls reveal a really tight race in the presidential election. That's in just about 6 months this November. And so he is doing a pair of fundraising events here in the area.
And right now, SeaTac Airport is the quietest it has been in quite some time. All flights have been stopped coming in and out of the airport now for nearly a half hour. So Air Force One is the only plane out there on the tarmac as people inside the terminals are probably waiting until the president clears the area so they can get on their flights and flights can then go to and from SeaTac Airport.
And you see people there on the tarmac waiting for the president's arrival. This, of course, something else that we have seen in the past. And we do know that the state's governor, Jay Inslee, and his wife are there waiting to greet the president. We also know that U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal is there, the King County Executive, Dow Constantine, as well as the Seattle Mayor, Bruce Harrell. So some dignitaries there to greet the president as he makes his arrival in Western Washington. And it could not be a more beautiful day for him to arrive here in the Pacific Northwest.
Cloudless skies, temps in the upper 70s to low 80s. It should be that way throughout his visit. We know that he is here for two fundraiser events, one this evening at 7 o'clock in downtown Seattle, another one tomorrow in the early part of the day over in Medina. So the president, like you said, coming at a great time weather-wise, but also a very busy time politically in this town as we saw protests throughout the week at UW, and we expect to see more protests tonight as the president attends that fundraising event.
Yeah, growing scrutiny with Democrats over how he has handled the Israel-Hamas war. And as we are watching Air Force One taxi here on the tarmac at SeaTac, if you are just joining us, just minutes ago, President Biden touched down at SeaTac Airport. Of course, we're watching the traffic impacts of this, but right now, in this moment, we are waiting for the plane to come to a stop, and we see that typical moment when the president steps onto the stairway and waves and finally makes his way to the ground, wherever he is landing, and of course now at SeaTac. So speaking of that, let's go to our reporter, Julie Calhoun, that is there watching this moment unfold on the ground. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Jessica. Yeah, so Air Force One just landing right in front of us. We are just now waiting for those moments when President Joe Biden takes his steps out of Air Force One and onto the tarmac here in Seattle. And as you mentioned, there are several leaders from our state that are here waiting to greet him, including Governor Jay Inslee and his wife, Trudy Inslee, Representative Pramila Jayapal, including King County Executive Dow Constantine, and our Mayor, Bruce Harrell. So this is the president's first trip to Seattle since 2022. He's expected to meet with supporters at fundraising events tonight and on Saturday to help shore up some more cash for his campaign. He will have an event at 7 at the Rainier Club tonight. Of course, we do have King 5 crews out there right now. But again, we are just getting a look at Air Force One right now as we are waiting for the president to take a step down. And he will continue those campaign efforts tomorrow with the reception in Medina. Air Force One will stay here at SCA Airport throughout the night. The president is not going to leave until 1:35 tomorrow to head back to Delaware. So when that happens, we will see some more disruptions that we're seeing right now, including no runway traffic here at SCA Airport and continued traffic impacts with I-5 northbound and SR-18 lanes all blocked while for the president as his motorcade will be going. We're starting to see some folks step off of Air Force One right now. Getting a look at that, looks like there are some security security, Secret Service officers that are stepping down at the moment. Steve and Jessica still waiting to get our eyes on the president there.
Of course, heavy security as the president makes his way here to Western Washington and is getting off that plane. Our thanks to Julie Calhoun. Julie, we'll check in with you in just a moment. I do want to take this time to welcome my colleague Joyce Taylor, who is here on set with me. And Joyce, you know, it's always a big deal when the president comes to visit.
It always is. Unusual, too, that he's landing at SeaTac Airport. Often we see these planes come in at Boeing Field, but the last two visits, President Biden has indeed arrived at SeaTac Airport. And as you have been reporting, the air traffic has been shut down. So people who are traveling to and from, this is what happens when we have a presidential arrival.
And for our viewers that are just tuning in, he just landed moments ago, and we're waiting for that moment when he comes out of the plane. Again, this is having heavy impacts across the area, not only at SeaTac Airport, but also on the roadways right now. I-5 northbound is completely shut down. So folks might be wondering what is happening out there. So if you're just tuning in, this is the big moment when the president is here, finally has landed at SeaTac Airport.
Great coverage up to this point. As you see, we have a entourage of dignitaries waiting on the tarmac. I see the Seattle Mayor, Bruce Harrell, and his wife, Joanne. The governor is there, governor with his wife, Trudy, and others. I believe, Julie, you said the county executive, Del Constantino, is also among those who are there to greet the president, who is moments away from stepping off Air Force One. Julie Calhoun has been there on the scene for us. Julie, if you can hear me.
Hey, Joyce, yes, I can hear you. Sorry, it is a little loud out here with Air Force One, but yeah, we are here waiting to get our eyes on the president. His motorcade has also just pulled up for him to obviously greet those people that are waiting for him to get down, and then where he will then go to downtown Seattle for a campaign event outside of the Rainier Club tonight at 7, where we do have King 5 crews waiting there. He'll be attending two other campaign events again tonight, and once more that we know of in Medina before he leaves Saturday afternoon to head to Delaware. Really, everyone just kind of waiting for those moments for President Biden to touch down. But the last time he was in Seattle was in 2022. So he is here for some fundraising campaigns to help shore up some more money for his presidential run. So here's a look at some of those campaign funding numbers real quick while we are waiting for the president. So President Biden's campaign has $85.5 million cash in hand right now. That's as of the end of March. The presumptive Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, has $45.1 million in cash. But again, that fundraising is continuing. He's just landing here from San Francisco, where he was at events there. The press, of course, all of us standing by, those waiting to welcome him, standing by, just waiting for that moment. Joyce.
And Julie, as you know, the White House has not revealed a whole heck of a lot about the details of these fundraising events. As you have said, he's been in San Francisco over the last couple of days on his West Coast trip. My understanding is that in Seattle, tonight's event, about $500 per person. We believe it's at the Rainier Club. But this West Coast cruise is all about the money and the fundraising money. And as you have mentioned, the Biden coffer is significantly larger at this point than the money that Trump has been able to raise. But of course, a heavy fundraising going on both sides. And the president is stepping off of Air Force One. Julie.
Right, Joyce. President Joe Biden just now stepping down. He is shaking Governor Jay Inslee's hand, greeting him as he continues to greet the other leaders that are here waiting for him. Pramila Jayapal is standing there as well, waiting for her greeting to the president as he continues to make his way down the line. Shaking hands with Representative Jayapal right now, greeting her. And you can see they're looking to take a photo as well. Of course, we can't hear exactly what they're saying in his greetings with these people, but of course, friendly enough. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell now meeting with the president. But Joyce, of course, as all of this is going on, he will be getting into his motorcade in just moments. And we do know that this is having some impacts in traffic for folks as you're watching. If you're getting ready to head out, northbound lanes of I-5 are shut down, as well as those lanes on SR5 or SR18 over here near the airport. Now he is shaking the hand of King County Executive Dow Constantine.
And it appears that the county executive has brought his daughter to meet the president.
Yeah, so definitely looks like a family affair out here, including Governor Jay Inslee's wife, who's out here with him as well. So our leaders, as well as their families, here to greet the president, who of course will be heading down to some campaign events. And like you've mentioned, Joyce, not too many details about those, but we do believe one of them is at the Rainier Club, where we do have King 5 crews waiting for that. Technology
has changed everything. Everyone's getting their selfie with the president. I also see Mayor Bruce Harrell with his wife, Joanne. This is probably the lull before he, continues his motion toward the Rainier Club. You mentioned a little bit about the traffic impacts. I-5 is going to be impacted. I-90 is going to be impacted. 405 as well, as that motorcade makes its way from the airport to downtown Seattle. And this is all happening just as we get ready to kick off a Mariners game at T-Mobile Park. So the impact at this time, 5 o'clock pretty much straight up, is going to be pretty significant. If you have family members you're waiting on, or you're planning to go somewhere, hopefully you are already at your destination and are not going to get caught up in some of this traffic that's going to be the result of this.
Exactly. And yeah, Joyce, you also mentioned, the technology, as we're getting to watch President Joe Biden in real time land and speak to people here. There is also going to continue to be those impacts on Saturday. That's something that people do need to keep in mind, because President Joe Biden will be leaving Seattle at 1:35 to head to Delaware. So when that does happen, typically there is no runway traffic going on for 30 minutes before the president leaves. That's something, of course, that happened just, within the half hour. We saw those last planes get out, so that is one impact. Of course, there will continue to be more traffic impacts when that happens on Saturday. But President Biden is continuing to meet with our state and local leaders, talking with Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, King County Executive Dow Constantine, Governor Jay Inslee here, as well as Representative Pramila Jayapal. Joyce.
And you mentioned some of the impact. Also, King County Metro telling us that even the streetcar in downtown services stopped at noon today. It's not going to resume until 3 o'clock tomorrow. Not clear if it's related to the president's visit, but that's just another impact in terms of moving around the city that you need to know about as the president makes his way to his motorcade. And as you mentioned, the air traffic has stopped in 30 minutes each side of the arrival of Air Force One, but the roads also will be shut down on either side of this. They're shut down now, and they will be for at least the next 20 minutes or 30 minutes or so as that motorcade starts to make its way into downtown Seattle, and which we do believe is going to be to the Rainier Club for a ticketed event, a fundraising event tonight. No idea how many people have been invited to that, how many people will attend, or what their fundraising goals are. But again, it's just about the money. This whole swing on the West Coast fundraising for the presidential coffers there. We'll say the president's flight was expected at 5. It arrived right on time. And as you have seen, we have Madison Wade, who's been down at the Rainier Club around 4th and Marion, where his motorcade is expected to arrive for that fundraiser tonight, starting at 7. So there's a bit of a gap in time between his arrival and when that fundraising event is supposed to start. But the impact to traffic will be fairly significant.
Joyce, looks like they're just kind of waiting to drive off at this moment. The president does look like he is in his motorcade, but again, he did arrive an hour early, so ahead of schedule than what was originally anticipated.
We've talked a little bit too about what the president has been up against in recent weeks. The dilemma of the student protests, which we've been reporting on, of course, at the Quad at University of Washington, hundreds of campuses across the country. And just the last week, as you know, we reported that the White House halted, did not stop, but halted military aid to Israel. very controversial on both sides as pro-Palestinian protesters have really made their voices heard on college campuses. Really difficult dilemma on how the president is going to handle that moving forward and how it's going to impact his presidential campaign and the election. That's the backdrop of what he's up against with 6 months to go until the election. The motorcade now leaving SCA Airport and headed to major roads. I'm not sure exactly what road they're going to take. They never really released that information, but we can tell you it's going to be moving north toward downtown Seattle. And several local dignitaries, of course, were there at the airport for the president's arrival. The governor, Jay Inslee, and his wife Trudy, Mayor Bruce Harrell of Seattle and his wife Joanne, Dow Constantine, with his daughter, who is no longer a baby. She's now, looks like she's in middle school at this point, but several people there who were at the airport to greet the president, taking selfies on his visit here as he is here to raise campaign funds for his presidential election. Again, counting down the months to November. Welcome to King 5 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Joyce Taylor. We will continue covering this, bringing you team coverage on the president's visit to the Emerald City. He's going to be here through tomorrow afternoon. That arrival means we're seeing all kinds of impacts to the traffic all around the city, not just at the airport. We have Madison Wade, who's in downtown Seattle. That's where the president's going to be heading tonight. No confirmation yet on where that fundraising event's going to be, but it is in downtown. And also Julie Calhoun, who has been covering this from the very beginning, leading up to and right up to the president's arrival. We're going to start with you, Julie.
Hey, Joyce, yeah, so the president just left in his motorcade after touching down coming from San Francisco. You can see that Air Force One is still here on the tarmac. It will be parked here at SCA Airport overnight until the president leaves Saturday afternoon to head to Delaware. Right now, he is on the move, so that is going to be impacting traffic for people. So we do know that the northbound lanes of I-5 are shut down, as well as traffic surrounding the airport. But I'm actually going to step out real quick so we can just get another look at Air Force One as they are going to be parking that and moving that here at SCA Airport. There were several leaders here to greet the president, which we have mentioned, including Governor Jay Inslee, Seattle's Mayor Bruce Harrell, Representative Pramila Jayapal, and King County Executive Dow Constantine. Now, King 5 does have crews out waiting for the president's arrival. We do believe he is going to be having a campaign event at the Rainier Club at 7 o'clock tonight. We also know he's going to have another campaign event in Medina tomorrow before, again, he heads back to Delaware. So right now, as far as air travel goes, that is still all stopped until Air Force One right here is parked. We do know he is, of course, trying to shore up some more money for his campaign events. Again, he just left in that motorcade, so that will be impacting some traffic here for some time. We'll continue to keep you updated and bring you up to the date developments regarding the president's arrival and his trip here. We'll also have some more coming up a little bit later. Joyce.
And as we get more specifics, of course, Julie, we will pass them on to our viewers. Thanks so much for your live reporting there on the scene. We'll check back with you shortly. We want to head now down to downtown Seattle, where Madison Wade is outside one of the destinations that we believe where the president's heading. And Madison, I can hear the protesters behind you.
Absolutely, Joyce. Since we've been here in the last several hours, a group of protesters have arrived here at 5th and Columbia. We've seen a steady stream of attendees for tonight's reception walking into the F5 tower that is on 5th Avenue behind me. And if you want to go lift this way to the left, we can show you the small group of protesters that are here gathered at 5th and Columbia, many of them in support of Palestine and against in the support of President Joe Biden. Here we're seeing a steady stream of people walking into the F5 tower. This is where President Biden's first stop is happening here on his visit to Seattle. He is expected to attend a pair of campaign fundraising events tonight and tomorrow. With the presidential election 6 months away, most polls are revealing a tight race. President Biden has lost support on both sides over his handling of the Israel-Hamas war. Pro-Palestinian groups at the University of Washington have been protesting U.S. involvement in the conflict. And as you have just seen, there are a small group of protesters going and gathering that direction. And so right now, this is what's happening here live in downtown Seattle. We spoke with former Washington State Governor and King 5 political analyst Gary Locke today, who said Biden's visit to Seattle is twofold: to mobilize and energize his base, and also to raise money for his possible re-election.
He's here to mobilize the base, to let them know that he needs their help in going out to the other states, some of the key battleground states, or working phone banks here in the state of Washington that will reach out to voters, whether it's in Georgia, Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Ohio.
And now Locke also estimates that each campaign will need to raise close to $1 billion. Julie talked about the current fundraising efforts on both sides tonight. And so we expect tonight a big fundraising event for President Joe Biden here. Many tech entrepreneurs are in Seattle, so this is why this is such an important stop for his campaign. And Joyce, this event is scheduled to happen at 7. We do know he landed early, so we are waiting here in downtown Seattle to see his motorcade come to 5th and Columbia.
Madison Wade reporting live for us. Those protests were expected, and we'll keep covering that as well. Thank